Hi everyone, how are you? I just wanted to come on live. I'm studying here for the LSAT, and that's why I'm going to talk to you from where I'm studying. And everybody's gone now, so I could study. I'm really good at the method of reasoning argument parts of the LSAT. That is my strength. It does take me a little bit longer to it takes me average time is like 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get these right. So I got to do a bunch of them to actually narrow down the time that it takes me to answer it. But I really understand the structure of the argument very well. So anything that has to do with what they're arguing about or what the premise is about and whether the conclusion goes well, I am very good at. That is a strength. I am not good at strengthening or weakening arguments. That is a little bit of a weakness for me when we're doing the LSAT, because it takes me a little bit longer to kind of like think it through and strengthen it or to weaken it. So I got to work on that. My other area that I'm good at is conditional reasoning, statements, and justify the agreement. But that's a little bit harder too, the justify arguments, because it's sort of like a strengthening question. And that's a little bit harder for me. But I'm good at conditioning and seeing the condition and how it plays out. It makes me laugh because Kamala Harris is as good as I am, right? With her circular reasoning. She does it on purpose. She's a brilliant woman. And she really understands how to manipulate what she is saying. So if you're not very good at a very good reader who is active and paying attention to what people are saying and or what you're reading, you can really be taken by what the manipulators are doing. And that's why you can influence me. I mean, I'm not, by no means, I'm not stubborn. I do get stubborn and dig my heels if you're being stubborn, because I want you to compromise. But I know how to compromise, and I know how to deal with people in such a way that I don't overreact. For example, usually when I'm in conversation, the other person overreacts before I do, and I am just taken aback and take a back seat to the whole thing. I don't add to it. I don't react to it. I just kind of look at them, and you could see in my face that I'm kind of like shocked. Like for example, a few years back, I was in a mom's group, and this one mom was kind of distraught because she had all her and her kids had all kinds of allergies, and I'm a prober. And I also want to help solve the problem. So I started probing, and the more I probed, the more buttons I would push. I didn't notice that. But I kept probing, and I said, let's see how far I can take it and learn a little bit about her. And so we were just talking nonchalant, and I was just, asking questions like normal. And she started getting uncomfortable. And I guess she didn't like the probe. And she really went off and overreacted in public and made me feel bad. It did make me feel bad, and it was like, I really felt it. People do have that effect. I do feel their emotions strongly, and sometimes it's uncomfortable, because I know that I can narrow down on the problem really, really well. But it makes me uncomfortable sometimes when people overreact and they don't they don't know how to have the self-control to stay calm in a situation, and it kind of reflects badly on them. And that's the problem we have in society today, is that we have a society of people who lack self-control in many situations, and they don't know how to resolve problems, and create more problems and more emotional problems, because they don't think clearly, and their emotions and their thinking are not balanced. And so it's taken me a long time to build that balance within myself, to know and understand who I am and how I affect other people and how other people are affected by me. So I am very, very good at judging other people's emotional balance and where their thinking is and where they are. And that's what makes me a good mediator, because I'm pretty balanced and I can see both sides of the issue. So what am I wanting to say today is, in order for us to keep America free, we need to re-educate Americans. And we need to first start with bridging that gap in our governmental education system and filling in the holes that were left in place when they graduated. There are many Americans with a lot of holes in their reading skill, their foundational skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And in order to start with that, I believe that parents have a duty to homeschool and struggle with the struggle themselves. So it's by no means, it is going to be difficult if you're homeschooling, because you are going to be learning alongside your son or your daughter or your children. And but at each stage, you're going to actually be helping yourself as much as your kids. And your kids are going to be that much better off in the future, and they're going to be able to competently resolve problems and solve and find solutions to the many things that we see today. Today, what we're seeing is, I'm sorry, and I'm going to put it this way, but the Democrat Party is the party of the progressive mafia. The progressive mafia has taken over the Democrat Party, and they're leading the Democrats to a totalitarian regime that none of us in America want. And people on both sides of the spectrum need to realize that we are being overturned. And I don't know how long we have, but we better rise up and we better start and get our thinking and balance our emotions well, so that we can start finding solutions to bringing back and correcting the errors that have been done, and come back to our constitutional foundation. We Americans need to come back and realize that what binds us together as American is the Constitution. That's it. And it holds our politicians accountable when they ignore it. And we need to start holding them accountable. And the way we do it is with lawsuits, with litigation in every direction. There are only 4 areas of litigation that you could use to sue the government. There is a RICO lawsuit that you can actually use. However, I think on the individual level, if people start litigating like equal protection and due process, those are areas that we can sue the government. When the government doesn't protect our freedom of speech, when they collude, that's an equal protection cause of action. Causation or cause of action, yeah. And so that's things that you could plead the government, because they're not protecting your real rights, which is the freedom of speech, the gun rights, the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to property. All those things fall under either due process, equal protection. I believe there is a freedom of speech defamation, and I have to look it up again, and I'll talk more about it later. But there are like 5 different areas that you could plead against the government when they violate your rights. Abortion is not a right, and you cannot, but you can sue the government for an unjust law. Abortion law in Colorado is an unjust law. They are not giving women freedom. They are giving corporations the freedom to commit abortions, to kill an unborn person. They're not educating women. They are effectively pushing abortion onto some women who are uneducated and foolish enough to believe the healthcare industry. Healthcare industry in Colorado is colluding with the government. The government is effectively in our healthcare industry and regulating it. And I think that that is a violation of our rights in the Constitution to be free from government imposition. The First Amendment. The other one that they're violating strongly is our right to worship as we want. They are ultimately creating a religion out of the secular world. The humanism. Humanism is a religion in itself, and the government is the one sponsoring it and promoting it and pushing it out onto people. And who they're using to push their humanist religion is the LGBTQ community and the education system. So part of the reason that most Americans can't read well, because Americans can read, but they can't read well, and they're not active readers, is because they're using our education system to educate and indoctrinate kids into this idea that there is no God, and we all evolved from monkeys. And the other thing is that they, rather than address the problem, the Democrats, they smear candidates, people like me, who are not officially a politician or care to be a career politician, and they smear us and they try to attack our character. And so I was attacked as a Hispanic woman who ran against a Caucasian woman with racism just because I said, I used the word chimps. And I used the word in connection with dyslexia, with my dyslexia, which I am diagnosed. They want to say that, oh, she's lying. I'm not lying. I was raised in the 80s when they expanded the dyslexia definition to include many more areas like ADD and disability in reading into the dyslexia definition. If you read the definition of dyslexia today, 100% of the students have dyslexia because they can't read well. And that is your trick. What they want to do is they want to control you and put you into a little bubble. So this person's personality falls in this bubble, and this person's personality falls in this bubble. And they want to create a caste system, which in America, we don't have a caste system. So they want to put people into these little compartments. And so this person's going to do this job, and this person's going to do this job. And they want to influence you to something that you might not even like, or it's not even what your personality or your gifts are for. And so bear in mind, as a Cuban, as a born and raised Miamian from Cuban parents, they did the same thing in Cuba. And today, Cuba, they're all poor. And who's the one that's rich? The government. And anybody who works for the government has the money to go travel and to do things. And everybody else is the same, and they don't own anything, and they have to, all their food is rationed. If you go into a supermarket in Cuba, they have one item on the shelves. They have 5 items, but 5 items of the same thing. They might have milk, sugar, and rice one week. And then they'll have this and this and this of the other the next week. So they ration everything, and they influence what you buy and what you need. And so people there, they don't have choice. They don't have the ability to eat what they want, dress how they want, and behave as they want. Because the government tells you how to behave. They tell you what you can eat. They tell you what you can dress or buy. In America, the government doesn't give you right. God gives you the right, and that's your natural right, and they can't take that right away. And so your freedom to do what you want comes from God, not government. God ultimately will judge you for your behavior. And that was codified in our foundational Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. It's not saying that you have to worship in the same religion. It's just saying that God, there is a creator, and the creator gives you your right. You can worship however you want, but when you die, the creator of humans will judge you, and only you, and how you lived your life, and how you served your purpose on this earth. That's what I wanted to say today. And in order to get back to things, parents must realize that they have a duty and a right, an absolute right in the Constitution to raise and train their kids. The government has no right whatsoever. All they have is a contractual right. When you enroll your kids in school, the government contracts with you, the parent, on the basis of an education. They make an offer. We're going to teach your kid this and this and this. You have a right to accept that offer or not. And then there's consideration. If you accept that offer, there's consideration. They're going to graduate literate. They're going to graduate literate in math, reading, arithmetic. They're going to be able to be functional citizens in America. They're going to know the history well. They're going to be able to go out and defend their own freedom. That is a consideration. If there is no consideration, then there is no contract. And you know what? The government has breached. And so you need to know your right, your contractual right to your child's education. There is a contractual right. That's it. And you could sue for breach of contract when the government does not meet that contract. However, you cannot sue for malpractice because the court doesn't feel that you should sue the government for malpractice. But they're clearly doing educational malpractice because they're not teaching you anything. So the way around that is you need to set it on a contractual breach. You need to call it fraud, contractual fraud. And if you win the contractual fraud, then the whole case becomes a fraud case. And that is how you go and you litigate education and government against the government. So each school contracts with the parent. There is no contract with a student because a student, until they're 18, has no contractual right. They're considered invalid. It's considered invalid. They're considered unable to think and reason well enough to be able to understand the contractual obligation of their education. So the parent is the one representing the kids. So parents must sue if they find that the school is violating the contract, is violating the offer the offer they put out. Every school offers something, and if they fail, they lack consideration, it's an invalid contract. The NEA has no business in our education. The teachers union has no business in our education. They're not the ones that should be determining the curriculum. It's the teacher. The teacher supposedly goes to school, gets licensed to teach your kid to read. They're the ones that bear the burden of teaching, not the politicians, not the director, not the teachers union. The teacher. And the teachers have an obligation to those students. And then the principal has an obligation to the teachers and everyone who works for that school. So you can sue the school for not meeting the obligations of teachers and for not allowing the teachers to adequately teach their class. I'm not going to run for school board because I can sit there and I can be the voice for parents, but ultimately my role is a parent and my obligation is to my child. And so until I become a lawyer, the best way that I can help people is by being a lawyer. So please pray for me that I pass this, that I score a good score, and I could get into any law school in America. That is my goal. Because I am a thinker, I am a good reader, I am a good communicator, I love people, and I am ethical. I have good moral character, and I know that I can defend and protect our Constitution. This little pocket Constitution, I carry it with me everywhere. It's essential, and you could get it at the John Birch Society. Carry it with you wherever you go. And start conversations about the Constitution with all your friends, family, and neighbors. And have the self-control to hold your emotions together. When you're in a conversation with somebody you don't agree, don't come after them and yell at them, for a different argument, like I had with my neighbor. Hold yourself. hold yourself and your emotions and keep them intact. Your duty is in any conversation is to hold yourself. Know your emotional strength. Know where your buttons are that can be pushed, where you're triggered, and hold it. Do not be triggered by your emotions. Use your head and balance your emotions so that you are able to communicate well and solve problems. And that's what makes you a mature adult. And that's why we don't have men. Because men, a good, strong, successful man has self-control. And why do the schools want LGBTQ? Because a lot of men lack the self-control. Right now, almost all our amendments in the Bill of Rights are being violated. Almost all of them. The first, the second, the fourth, the fifth. Let me see, do they have a sixth too? The third, I'm trying to concoct something and see if it's being violated. But it's not. So I can't really go to the third. The third is the only one that hasn't been violated yet. And we cannot allow the third to be violated. Absolutely not. Okay, so the other one is, let's see, the fourth. The ninth, yes, it's being violated because privacy falls in the ninth, and it's not really there, but it just says that the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by people. So parental rights falls in the 9th Amendment. That is an absolute right that the parent has when they get married and they have kids, biological kids, not scientifically kids, not helped by science. If God gives you those kids and you get pregnant, those are your kids. If you choose to get an abortion because you think it's a right, God will hold you accountable for that. I don't think that the government can hold any woman accountable or any spouse accountable for abortion. The accountability lies with the healthcare industry, the provider of healthcare. They have a duty to inform the parents, on what's going on inside their body. And if they don't, they violated your right. And you could sue the abortion clinic. And what they're doing with abortion is that you can't sue the abortion clinic. They're violating your right, your individual right for the healthcare provider. Okay, so the other one, so parental rights falls under the 9th Amendment. I believe if I was a judge, I would look at the 9th Amendment because that's a right that's not stated and it's absolute. And it's absolutely your right. It's not the government. The other one, the excessive bail shall not be required. That's Amendment number 8. That is absolutely being violated. I've seen it in a lot of cases where they're, like in family law cases, they're putting excessive bail on a contempt spouse who doesn't pay child support. And child support is unconstitutional. The other one that's being violated is the 7th. Let's see, it says in suits at common law where the value of controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved and on fact tried by a jury trial by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court in the United States. That one is being violated with January 6th. We have people that haven't even been tried. So that one in conjunction with, I believe it's the 4th. Okay, the 6th says, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right of speedy and public trial. So that one, the 6th, the 7th, and the 5th, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or other infamous crime unless on a presentment on indictment of a grand jury. That one's being violated. And the 4th being violated. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, houses, papers, and effects is being violated right now in our airports. The airports currently are violating Amendment number 3. And they will tell you, the TSA, if you question them on it, will say, no, it's not being violated. That's BS. And they need to be sued. The government needs to be sued because it's violating the right of the people to be secure in their own persons. When you go through those things, you're not securing your own persons because they're looking at you to see if you have anything inside. To be secured in your houses, Tina Peters was violated on that one right there. Her papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Donald Trump was violated on that one. Shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause. So you need probable cause to be searched and to be seized. And in the airports, there is no probable cause. All Americans are being put as if they were criminals. So we are being violated. Not only are we being violated, but the 14th Amendment, the states are violating it with the abortion issue because they don't want to answer the life. Okay? The 14th Amendment says, I'm going to tell you exactly. Also, the amendment number 16 is a complete violation of the state right to directly tax you. What else is the 17th Amendment is also a violation of the states. So the states, the senators, U.S. senators are senators of the state. They represent each state. So we have 2 to represent the state of Colorado. Texas has 2. And the state is not being represented currently in the U.S. Congress because we, the people, elect them. And so the proper people to elect their senators is the legislators in the state and the electorate, the caucuses. So it should be the legislature and the 9 people who, if the Democrats win, then the 5 of the electors will go vote for the senator. So you get 5 out of the 9. Wait, let me see. So the 14th Amendment says the state brings in the state. And what I like about the 14th, it's not completely horrible, is that it brings in the state into the Constitution, into the Bill of Rights. So it holds the state accountable for violating the Bill of Rights. Not only that, but Kamala Harris is violating. She's a lawyer. She should know this. And she's violating our Constitution by being the vice president. Kamala Harris is not eligible because her parents never naturalized, and she's been influenced by their ideology. Her grandfather was her role model, and he was a foreign diplomat. They want to argue with me all they want. He was a foreign diplomat. He worked for the government of India in Africa. Not a bad thing. I mean, that's great. But Kamala Harris is not eligible to be the Vice President of the United States. She's eligible to be hold office in India or Jamaica. That's her birthright. Her birthright is Jamaica and India. She's a Jamaican American and a British Jamaican. And she's an Indian. From Asia. Asian India. India's in Asia Minor. So in order to correct that, our Congress people should put in a declaratory judgment on Kamala Harris so that the Supreme Court, or a lawyer, so that the Supreme Court solely answers the question of who's eligible to be president or vice president. They're the only ones that have jurisdiction in questions and legal questions that pertain to the Constitution and to the highest office. So there should not be a state legislation or a state pleading. It should be directly to the U.S. government. And I can do it. However, I'm not a lawyer. And I need to write a 10-page affidavit saying why I need to be allowed to plead this in order to do it. I don't have the time to do 10 pages unless I'm working for a lawyer and I'm getting paid by the law firm. And I'm not a lawyer. I mean, I could probably write it, but that's a lawyer's job. Lawyers need to have the courage to start standing up for our Constitution, and they're not. The vast majority of lawyers will not do any case unless they're getting paid. Lawyers are not altruistic anymore. They're not people who do the right thing. Lawyers do not do the right thing. The vast majority of lawyers do not do the right thing. They do the wrong thing for money. So we got to also hold our lawyers accountable. Lawyers are not doing their job. Politicians are not doing their job. They're compromised by all kinds of money laundering. So, let me get back to studying. Happy Saturday, and please go buy my book, because it's a really good book. And I wrote it in order to enlighten parents and teachers who want to build a better curriculum. Marla Fernandez on how to teach your child to read in 3 simple steps. It's a guide for teachers and parents to build a curriculum around phonics and focus on reading. Make reading the foundation from kindergarten to 7th grade. Everything else needs to be secondary to building that good reading ability. Because if you don't have the reading ability, you will not be able to learn anything well. Talk to you later. Have a good day. And if you need a mediator, please think Marla Fernandez Mediation and let me help you resolve your conflict.